Hello investigators, and welcome to the overview video for 1,000 Shapes of Horror, which is product number AHC40 in the Arkham Horror the card game line, and the second Mythos Pack in the Dream Eaters cycle, which FFG are still offering free US shipping on, and exciting art cards if you pre-order from them. If you aren't in the US and your pack hasn't already been released, then you can use the QR code on the rear to check those fabulous new cards everyone else on the internet is talking about. This item was inspired by the H.P. Lovecraft short story The Unnameable, but you don't need to know that. It comes in the standard blister pack, which contains 60 fixed cards. If you are new to Arkham Horror the card game, our episode on the search for Kadath gives you a detailed explanation on what Mythos packs are and how they work. Under the flap is another double sheet, as this seems to have become the norm now. This is scenario 2B of the Web of Dreams campaign. It's the one that follows on from 1B Waking Nightmare. These are the investigators that stayed awake and didn't go into the land of cats. Still no clue? Welcome to the problem of an interleaving double-strand campaign. It may have been 2 months since you played the scenario that precedes this, and worse still, you may have run through the other campaign scenario in the intervening month. Grood help you if, like us, you've been playing stuff like Dead of Night and Final Hour. You won't remember a thing. So why not go back and replay it? We won't tell if you don't. Or wait for them to release the whole campaign. There are plenty of things to play in the meantime. If you ever get confused about which pack goes with which campaign, then every campaign sheet has a listing of all the scenarios or packs in order. These are the titles in black. The other colour is for the story interludes found on the rule sheets. There are 13 pairs of new cards in this pack, including a fabulous new neutral. 8 to level 0, including both Mystic cards, leaving 5 as experienced cards. And you'll be pleased to know the survivors get 2 whole cards this time, like the Seekers and the Mystics. But the Rogues and Guardians get 3, including the Holy Trinity of Asset, Event and Skill in the same pack for the Guardians. But what's this? Ever keen to push the design envelope, Self-Sacrifice is a skill card with no skill icons on it. This definitely makes a change from the previous trend of cramming as many icons on as possible. Before you get too excited, take heart from Heart of the Elders was the first time we saw a skill like this. This is definitely a card that fits the Guardian theme, although it is spirit traded, so if you played it as Calvin, you may actually want the test to fail in order to sustain some damage or horror. The Guardians get a new ally, and it's one that can take the strain from any investigators at your location. Agency backup he ain't, so maybe dust off a copy of Trusted. And when he dies, he leaves you a little gift like a fleshy Kinder Egg.
Nothing was found of Officer Tetsu apart from his badge.
Or a smoking pair of boots. Next up is some more encounter deck mitigation, a recent string to the Guardian bow.
It's a metaphor!
So, with some good timing, you only need to have Ancient Evils kick you up the fundament once. Speaking of the encounter deck, the Seekers get a new toy, and it's a tome. Oh my word, Daisy will be pleased. The other new toy Seekers have is an expansion to their hand capacity. With Mandy having a deck size of up to 50 and plenty of ways to draw cards, things can get a little crowded on the old 5-fingered bookshelf. But with this asset, duplicate cards now only count once. Very handy for the new wave of Myriad cards. And if you draw a card you already have in your hand, then you get to draw again. Remember this obscure card people claimed was overpowered? It's nice to have a full hand, right? And look, it takes up an arcane slot, which is thankfully rare in Seekers. And if you are feeling left behind with all those new investigators having such chunky deck sizes, or you are the world's most indecisive deck builder, then the new neutral card Versatile adds another 5 cards to your maximum deck size. And as a permanent it starts in play. But that is nothing compared to the ability to take a single level 0 card from any class. Now everyone's an honorary Dunwich graduate. Note how it isn't unique or limited, so you can have 2 for double the fun. Plus it gives you access to bonded cards, as the host card is usually one of, and bonded cards don't count towards any deck building restrictions. Now anyone ever can take Drawn to the Flame. You don't have to be an all-purple all-the-time party to have 8 copies and really blow yourselves up. Naturally, you will have readied Fool Me Once beforehand, right? On to the Mystics. Here we have a damage healing card, something Seekers and Guardians have had from the core box, and it looks suspiciously identical to Clarity of Mind, so we may get an upgraded version of this at some stage. Tuck away those painkillers, Agnes, and get into rehab. But, as Mr. Miyagi might say, Daniel-san, best defense is not to be there. So why not go incorporeal to slip away from any troublesome goons and remain damage and horror-free till the next round? It's like the old adage says, I don't have to outrun the enemies, I just need to be more intangible than you. A nice little Daisy escape card, perhaps. The survivors receive another windfall from their discard pile. Even more powerful than Safina's Painted World, this can be another instance of any card in your deck, providing it has made its way to your discard pile. Unlike Resourceful, you don't have to pass a test, and it doesn't need to be a survivor card either, so you could play up to 4 or 5 with Myriad instances before you have to shuffle your deck, and it's great for exceptional cards.
No, it's only level 1 cards.
Well, what about signature cards?
No, you can't choose them either.
Ah, that's right. These are no-level cards. We told you that right back in tutorial number 4. Moving on to Brute Force, this card potentially supplies the survivors with some much-needed damage, but only on a basic fight action. Well, unless you've been there since the single core box beginning, you are probably so used to your guns, knives, sharp sticks, harsh language that you have forgotten all about the basic actions. These are the things on your player reference card, like draw a card, gain a resource, investigate, move, or fight an enemy. You don't get any bonuses to your test or damage, or you didn't until this card came along. Obviously, it probably won't help out Wendy, but Silas could certainly make use of a pair of these, and if he fails, he can yank this back to your hand so it isn't wasted. Finally, it's 3 cards for the rogues, kicking off with another ally. Aside from being a great excuse to upgrade your tokens to something with a multiplier on the back, this takes the crown from the M1918 bar as the new card with the most uses. It's a good job he is unique, as those single core box users could find themselves running short. It's also the first ever appearances of Uses Resources. Think of him as a mega skill booster who sometimes refunds your money, or maybe like lockpicks where you only lose tokens when you don't succeed by enough. Next up is the event Swift Reload. It is fast, so you can reload in combat without taking attacks of opportunity, which certainly makes it valuable. But rather than an increase by a fixed amount or a percentage, it simply tops you up to the printed user's value. So not only will you want to save this till you're empty for maximum effect, particularly on low capacity weapons, but you may also need to think carefully if it is cheaper just to discard the weapon and draw another one instead. Although, with it being a level 2 rogue card, only really Leo Anderson will be swiftly reloading his lightning gun. But wait, it's a tactic, so Mark Harrigan can too.
No,
You're right. So we can include the next card, Let God Sort Them Out, as that is level 0. And Fool Me Twice is a Guardian card anyway. If you are wondering about Jenny, sadly her uses value is only defined at the instance of purchase. When you come to play Swift Reload, X is undefined, so defaults to 0. This card is full of disappointments, it seems. The last card of the day is Let God Sort Them Out, which rewards you if you manage to defeat 6 health worth of enemies during one of your turns. Remember those swarm enemies you were reading about? But it has to be done in a turn, not in a round, so you can't be claiming extra kills and actions on your fellow players' turns. And you also need to save an action to actually play the card. To make sure you bank some extra actions. All this palaver for a single experience point. But look where they've put the ellipsis. Those funny dots at the end mean the sentence should carry on. Although the phrase we are familiar with is, kill 'em all, let God sort 'em out, which apocryphally goes all the way back to 22nd July 1209, and the massacre at Béziers. Kill them, for the Lord knows those that are his own, spoke Arnaud Amore, papal legate and inquisitor to Pope Innocent III when the Albigensian crusade reached Béziers. This isn't the first time that French company Asmodee has marked the Cathar crusade. After the knights had slaughtered the inhabitants of Béziers, they marched on which city? Exactly. Although it's probably that someone at FFG is a fan of Canadian punk hardcore band No Problem and wanted to pay tribute to their album Let God Sort Them Out. We are kind of partial to track 2, Get the Feeling Back, so it's no surprise that this Edmonton, Alberta-based band were immortalised in a card game. That's it, folks. It looks like they are giving the bonded cards a rest for a while. We will leave you with a slideshow so you can have a ponder at your own pace. Don't forget to use the pause button.